right, welcome to the closing beat, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. How's it going out there? Looking good, people. Looking good, looking good. Hey, Jazz Wealth officially ranked the 66th best financial advisor in all of America there. So, you know, we're just maybe getting a little crazy with it around here, but awesome. Appreciate that. USA Today did the whole thing there, and apparently you guys voted, or a lot of people voted, and we beat the money guys. So I don't know what to tell you there. They're good people. I'm not picking on the money guys, but it is fun to know them. So anyways, happy May Day to you. Not something we really celebrate here. Maybe May Day, like, oh no, May Day. But May Day, it's kind of like our Labor Day overseas in Europe. So a lot of the markets overseas were closed, but our market was not. We're going to talk about that. Before I do, a little embarrassing, but at the Panthers game on Monday, Jimmy and I believe Sarah, hello, I saw you there, or they saw me there. I can't remember if it was Sarah or not, but I do remember Jimmy, and that was a good time. Appreciate that, hanging out there with you guys. Anyways, S&P. Let's go over and take a look here. Yeah, it's May, right? So we had this long 5-month win streak going. You might have seen it in the news, somebody talking about it or whatever, but since November, every month has been positive. That ends for the month of April. April's normally a good month as well. We got about a 4% decline there, total returns, 4.08%, something like that. And that's only the 7th time ever that the S&P has lost 4% or more in April. So it's not very common. I'll take it. I'm not complaining, but it's not very common there. We have the issue of inflation, right? You went through that. You lived through the month of April. You know what happened. And, of course, higher rates for longer. That is kind of the attention. And today, of course, still the concept with the Fed discussing what they're going to do. The excitement actually was kind of cool. I'm going to go to the SPY so you can follow along if you want. But if we go to a minute-by-minute chart, this is very normal for the market to be somewhat quiet at the start of the day, down a little bit. The Fed talks, we have this immediate move here, and it reversed all of it. So the Fed says, hey, just so you guys know, the next move that we make is probably not going to be to hike rates. So he's really just trying to put that to rest and make people go, okay, so just higher rates for longer until we get this inflation under control. Okay, good. You're not going to raise rates. A little bit geeky here, though, is if you look inside, if you're an economics nut and you kind of like paying attention to this, really now we're looking at the jobs market. So until the next Fed meeting or until they start really going out and talking again, we're looking at the jobs market. We need that to cool down just a little bit. And by that, I mean, we need to see jobless claims maybe tick a little bit higher. It's having a tough time right now. And we need to see overall hiring cool down. So if you're looking at what they're thinking about, that's where the attention's going to be. And also the BLS just, was it yesterday? They said that we found that employers paid more for labor, right? That's not a good sign either. That means that they're getting paid more. People are going to spend more. It costs them, the employers, more for them to work. So they have a job. They're not losing the job. And if they want another job, they're still able to get it, and they're getting paid more. That's why inflation's stuck here just a little bit. And if you want to go back, our Notes from Jazz email just a couple weeks ago, I actually laid out, I think I did it in Wine and Wealth as well, I laid out exactly what inflation would have to do month over month in order to get us to 2% and by when. So just broke out the math there a little bit so you could check it out. Anyways, going back to the markets here. I'll use the futures markets now so we can see the the after hours activity. So here we go. We have this transition point in the market. We're down 4%, or we were down 4% for the month of April. Kind of a fun fact, if you want. It's not the greatest of all fun facts, but when the S&P is, or when the S&P April is negative, the next 6 months, you got a 50-50 shot whether it's going to be positive or negative. If it's negative, the average decline is about 3%, which if you look at it would kind of get us back down towards that 10% pullback number. So it's a 50-50 shot. The reason why that's interesting and also not interesting, yeah, it's a coin flip, right? But that is less than the normal 6-month return of the stock market. That tends to be positive, right? If you go back through the life of the market. So having a 50-50 shot is actually worse than what the market would normally do. It was 57% that the 57% of the time the S&P is higher over a 6-month window. Long term, of course, right? So that's that. Also, we're at a bit of a transition point. And I didn't get a chance to share this with you the other day, but I just want to point out that the market doesn't, I don't want to oversimplify this, so somebody's going to have a problem with this, but 66, right? So the market doesn't come out of a rally mode pull back one time and then just take off back to new highs. That's pretty rare. That can happen inside of these little rallies like this, but when a major trend breaks, just like we have here in the stock market, we talked about this all through it happening and even before. Well, it doesn't normally just go pull back and run back to highs as if it never happened. We call it a transition period. There could be periods of it going sideways. There's going to be great days and bad days. Today was a pretty wild day, to be honest, news driven, but kind of, whatever. So one pullback and a rip after a transition period is not normal. In that previous slide, what I was showing was we were in a mode of this. Okay, yes, great. We got a nice little rally. The trend breaks, and we did not just immediately go back to highs and pretend like it never happens. Remember, for a trend to break is usually a change in forward expectations, right? The stock market moves based on earnings in the long run. In the short term, of course, you can have a Fed day like this or news events, earnings events, terrorist attacks, hopefully not, but all this stuff can happen. Over the long run, the market values itself based on the earnings of all the underlying companies. So when a trend breaks like this, the reason we do not just go back to highs and pretend like it never happened is because the assumptions have changed. It's like oh, hold on, give me a few months or however long they need to redial in my expectations. That's going to take time. In the meantime, I'm not a buyer, I'm not a seller, I need to just see what's going on. So it's kind of a long way of saying that, but there you go. All right, so the NASDAQ, same thing, transition period, doing the same thing. Looking around, I mean, you kind of had a little bit of mix of both today. Apple a little weak, Nvidia weak, Amazon strong, Microsoft strong. Those big guys that actually do the heavy lifting in the S&P. And I would also say the NASDAQ. No real guidance, no real consistent move between all of them there, and that's fine. They got earnings coming up. We got Apple and Amazon came out. We'll talk about that in a minute, so understandable there. The Dow a little bit off page today in terms of being not connected with everything else. The rule of thumb here, if you look at the number of points that the Dow is up or down, just take a 0 off of that, and or 2 zeros, sorry, and you should see the S&P up or down the same amount. The way that works is like if the Dow is up 200 points, the S&P should be up around 20 points, and that would tell you without doing any more research that this was a broad rally today. It wasn't led by just a couple stocks. If the Dow is down 200 points and the S&P is down somewhere around 20 points, that tells you there was just broad selling. So it's kind of a fun shortcut there if you don't want to do the homework. I'm just full of stuff today. The Russell 2000, if you look across over there, it held its own, to be honest, a lot in the value area. The Russell 2000, or I should say small cap value stocks, continue to have a little bit of oomph to them. It's not enough to get anything going, but that's what you see. And then interest rates, I'm sorry, they're still really high. I wish I could do something for you guys. But down here at the lower end of this channel, a little bit of recovery today, but not enough to move the needle and not enough to get anybody excited. Short-term, long-term, however you want to look at it, just not the case. Crude oil, we had the inventory numbers come out today. A lot more oil out there than was expected. 7-something million barrels of oil. I'll tell you exactly in a second. 7.27 million barrels of oil to the plus, as a surplus versus last time a draw of 6.37 million. So what does that tell you? Anything interesting? Not really. Not in just one report, but it does start to signify, like, are we not using as much oil? Are we not driving around as much? We're getting into the summertime season. Is this just a seasonality thing? What's happening there? Not enough you can get, personally, I think, not enough you can get from one thing, but it is what it is there. Do we have somebody over here, the leaderboard? We do.
Yeah, we do. So it's a great leaderboard today. I don't know if the leader is real or not, but Harry C leading. I don't know if it's a Harry Chu sighting. We haven't seen him in a minute, but
could it be?
Then we got Mark, Tom, Caesar, and Silky. And that's your top 5.
Oh man! All right. Hey, seeing a lot of familiar names on there. Either you guys are really good, or more people can play. Remember, no strings attached. We won't bother you. You take your guess. If you win, we'll reach out to you. If you don't win, try again. Right? We're not gonna sell your information or anything like that. Although we are the 66th best financial advisor in America, we're not that cool where we say, oh, let's just call them and start marketing to them and stuff. Just not, what? Oh, Chris is cool back there. He's okay. His feet up, chilling in the back. All right. I forgot you were there, man. All right, moving on. Some stocks in the news. I'm not going to go through all of them. There was a lot to go through, and there will be for the next week and a half. Amazon. Oh, I should say earnings moves today some reason, very magnified. Lots of double-digit moves out there in stocks that don't normally do that. So if you woke up and you saw your stock was up or down, a lot of them today down 10, 11, 12%, ooh, that's a little bit of a standout move. Is it an opportunity? Anyways, Amazon, AWS was and has been the focus here. They're now on a $100 billion run rate for Amazon there. So that's good for them. And overall, their operating margins, this caught my attention. Record highs, 10.7%. There was a day, years and years ago, where Amazon's not operating profit, but their net profit was less than 0.25% in those growth years there. So kind of fun to watch that take off there. Estee Lauder was in the news as well. That's earnings driven. We're not buying the lotions and potions as much there. Slowdown in the consumer space, which also bled over to Starbucks. This was disappointing for Starbucks. This was brutal, to be honest with you. If you're someone that likes to look at earnings, don't look at these. This is pretty brutal. Overall transactions down 6%. Average ticket down, meaning the amount that somebody pays. Well, prices were up 2%. That tells you people are like, yo, I'm not paying it anymore. That's a little much, right? You can see it. You can literally see that the number of sales went down, buy a coffee or whatever you buy there. And then the amount that you were spending at Starbucks went down. So you made the decision to go with the small one, whatever they call that, versus the tall one. I'm oversimplifying, but you get it. Well, it's normally not such a big deal. However, the CEO, I don't know if it was a CFO or the CEO, when they get on the conference call, instead of saying, oh, we realize that some things have changed a little bit. Maybe in the short term, we need to be a little bit more promotional or whatever. Instead of saying that, their actual words were, this quarter doesn't reflect the power of our brand. Yeah, that's what moved the stock down there. Nobody wants to hear that. We want to hear that you addressed it. You see weakness and I'm going to make some changes here. China was down 10%. So when you sort of discredit that, and you go, this is not reflective of our brand, say something. We'll do better. There's going to be a sale next month, or I don't know. So that's what I got from that. They just sort of said, we don't know what happened. Skyworks, that's earnings related as well. I'm just pointing out some of the names that you would have noticed today, big down moves that erase whole months worth of gains and stuff like that. Norwegian Cruise Lines is going to be the same thing. A lot of action over there, cost being the issue. Speaking of cost, you got CVS. So I didn't get to a way to do this simply. So I'm going to try to just take the whole thing and make it as simple as I can. When you, their problem, right, for this quarter here, or last quarter, they paid out 90.4% of all the premiums and dollars that they brought in for their healthcare units. The Minute Clinic, the one for long-term care, I forget, the Optimum or something like that. So they're bringing in all this money for people to pay for their healthcare stuff in the future. Well, more people used it, right? That's like United Healthcare. Like, oh, we charged you this much, and more people got sick, so we had to pay out more of the premiums we collected. But they paid out 90.4, and you go, well, is that a lot? Yep, that's a record. So unfortunately, that was what happened there. And they said, we expect that to continue through the rest of the year. So without being crazy and looking around and all that, you can just look at that and go, hey, they brought in a bunch of money. They paid out 90.4% of it, which is a high number for them. Also, Viking River Cruises, right? I've always liked this model of the company. Well, they went public today. So if you care about that, you want to look into it there. They are now officially a public company. I just thought it was always a cool model to say, like, hey, you have these like massive cruise ships. What about the little guy? Let's go have some little cruise ships and go to different areas and stuff. You've seen the commercial. Guarantee you've seen the commercial. All right, and lastly, Embraer. If you're in aviation, you know the deal there. Apparently, they're looking around and shopping suppliers to now start to compete with Boeing and Airbus. Could we make a bigger plane? They do a military plane that's larger. They go, oh, wait a minute. So apparently what's going on is they're shopping around for those suppliers. They've got their design. They need to raise some money. They're not big enough to go compete, but need to raise some money, and they're trying to do that. So could this be the next big competitor? We all talk about it all the time. Like, well, it's either Boeing or Airbus, and then that Chinese company that doesn't do well. But you go, well, what are they going to do? Embraer coming into the mix there. All right, we'll see. Tomorrow we've got earnings from everybody. Yeah, Wayfair's in there. The big one is Apple after hours, if you're curious. Booking Holdings, Live Nation, that's the worst performer, by the way. And Block. I'll see if I can answer some of your questions here. And don't start with the May the 4th stuff yet. It's not the 4th. No, you can't do that. No. All right, I'll see what I can do if I can help you. If not, I will get on my way here. Andrew says they should just stick with the regional planes. There's an argument to be had there. As Cody says here, run the football. Don't just stay in your lane. Whatever what's the rest of it? Just run the football. You know what I mean? I agree with that. Tesla to 37,000 a share by the end of the week. Want to bet? No, obviously a turning point for Tesla if you've been following it there. There was an analyst that came out, I think it was JP Morgan, that literally said, that's the bottom. You just found the bottom of Tesla. And they don't do that, often. Yeah. Congrats on the 66 rated factors. So on which factors are you rated? So man, I didn't ask questions. They let us know. You can search it. USA Today, man. It's right there. You know some? Did I mute your mic? Yeah. You got some? Oh, yeah. No, I don't know either. Sell in May happening already today. The old sell in May and go away. That's going to be part of our topic of wine and wealth tomorrow. We're going to cover your May financial focus, and then I'm going to sprinkle in that sell in May and go away because it's complicated. It is not as easy to just say, do it, sell in May and go away. So I'm going to break through all of that for you, and I'll make it interesting, I promise. Yeah. Yep. Not sure why the closing beat's been so sporadic lately. Maybe Dustin could fill us in. It's Cody's fault. So, yeah, I don't know. They'll let us in the dark. No real reason. Brother gets tired of doing these every once in a while, Take a little break. Blame it on Eric. It's Eric's fault. We were busy being 66. Yeah, that's what it is. Well said. Yeah, come at me with that. Hey, what do you use to gauge if we're in a pullback versus the beginning of a new bear market? That's just a prediction. Anybody that says this is the beginning of a new bear market is obviously taking a guess until we hit the actual definition of a bear market. There's no gauge to say that. If by chance, now since we know how this is playing out, if by chance there's still strong hiring numbers, jobless claims don't tick up, people are getting paid more, we know that it's going to be a bit of trouble because of the inflation. We're going to have a hard time getting it down. Actually, there's only two ways inflation can continue or can fall from here. Every other scenario starts making inflation go higher there. If I can find it, I'll share that with you guys. That's not fair for me to keep teasing that, but in the notes from Jazz, it's definitely there, but we'll check that out. Yeah. Any thoughts of Tesla with the recent rally, pump fake or real? Well, not my opinion, but that guy from JP Morgan or maybe Goldman Sachs, I forget who it was, said that is the official bottom there. Think of it as the reverse of what I always tease you guys about is a stock here. A stock doesn't fall this sharply and just get right back up and go. It'd have to be false news or something, you know what I mean? But it's like falling out of a multi-story building. You need time to recover, shake it off, blah, 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 whatever. It's the same in the other way around. When there's that much reaction, that over a $50 move so quickly, you don't just turn around and give it all back. That is extremely, extremely rare to see that there. Jeff's getting 3% more. There you go. Get in there. Get yourself some more. What's up with the cannabis stocks, man? Why isn't the DEA rescheduling announcement being taken positively by investors? Because it doesn't solve the main issue that these guys have. It doesn't change the ability for them to get bank accounts, right? It could be Schedule 1, it doesn't matter. They can't go get the bank accounts. That's their main issue right now is finance and how they handle all of that. So none of that's going to change, to be honest. And remember, the DEA adamantly, just aggressively fights back on this. So, you got to get it. You got the Biden administration going in there saying, hey, this is what we want to do. The DEA going, what if we say no? Again, this has happened in the past, but what if they say no? And that's their answer is, we're probably just going to say no. So a little bit different there. I love it. All right, back to work. Being number 66 here. Do appreciate all the support. And yeah, we'll take it from there. We will be back tomorrow to do this because we got Wine and Wealth as well. So there will be a closing beat tomorrow. You guys enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and I'll hit this button here and be on my way.